Hey guys, it's Core Ross and Web 6 News. So earlier this week we found out that Rainbow Six Siege is going to be getting a streamer mode along with some other changes as well. And this is all in the top issues and community concerns. It was updated on Monday. So let's actually run through this. So mouse and keyboard on consoles. Now this is interesting. They do say we're making progress, but we're unable to predict what the outcome is actually going to be. Now, my thinking here is they're probably going to be able to figure out a solution to detect mouse and keyboard on consoles. The problem is that that little piece of hardware that is used to convert a keyboard and mouse input into what it appears to be a controller for the Xbox or PlayStation. The problem is that little bit of hardware is supported with firmware updates from its creator, which means that if you do come up with a way to detect it, like which Fortnite did in the past, they just simply put out a firmware update to get around it. So yeah, they might be able to at some point maybe detect it for a very short amount of time. That's my kind of thinking what will probably happen. Then it'll quickly get updated and then it'll be back to square one. But we'll certainly see. And like they say, they're making progress, but they don't know how it's actually going to turn out in the future. And yeah, it literally says ongoing. So this could take years more before they get anywhere. As of course, it's already taken years at this point. Then we've got DDoSing on consoles. Now, this is interesting because they say that they've been managed to actually mitigate a lot of DDoS issues. Now, I expect that is against servers, so attacking the servers themselves. Of course, players can also be attacked, and the problem is Ubisoft doesn't know if you got disconnected because of internet issues or we're getting DDoS attacked. So it does seem like they're doing a good job. We've seen quite a lot of ban waves on consoles actually banning DDoS attackers, so that's been good as well. And they also see here that we are also aware that the situation is not resolved for everyone, and it remains an issue for some of our players. There's also been other moves on this. So for instance, Xbox parties used to be very vulnerable for getting your IP basically broadcast out to everyone, and someone could detect that IP using a computer monitoring the network. So that's been fixed on Xbox a little bit at this point because they're going to dedicated servers now for the party chat. But I don't think they've fully rolled that out yet, but at least they are moving forward with that. Then we have the streamer mode. Now, this is, of course, something that streamers are very happy to hear. And it's also a very simple thing, although I expect it is kind of complicated to implement. And yeah, this will be coming in the first half of year 6. So that's either season 1 or 2. And it'll be pretty simple. Like, first of all, it'll just randomize your queue. So when you queue up, people will not be able to queue up at the same time to actually get into a game with you. Instead, that'll be totally randomized. And they'll have potentially like random names for you and stuff. And the great thing about this is you can use this too. We were talking about DDoSing, right? This is an issue on consoles because someone can look up your IP on the internet under your gamer tag, find you, and then DDoS you using that IP. If you were to say put streamer mode on, so it randomizes your name in game, no one will be able to find your IP. So this could be good not just for streamers, but also people who are getting DDoSed as well. But like I say, that's year 6, and potentially, if we're talking the first half of year 6, that's a total of basically 6 to 7 months from now. So quite a while away. Then we've got cheaters and hackers. So of course, this shows up every single time because it's a constant battle, and they're doing their best to ban people and doing as much as they can. And it's never going to really stop. It's going to be a constant thing all the time. This one here is interesting. So servers and connectivity. So apparently they have had an increase in disconnects and issues with the servers. So that's interesting. They say that they're going to have a more in-depth communication on this later. So I'm really curious about that because, for instance, on the test server, half of the servers show up as Amazon GameLift servers. Another half show up just the normal names, which presumably is the usual Microsoft Azure servers. So is that them testing for a potential switch over to Amazon or not? Either way, really, really interesting that apparently they're having server issues, they're trying to figure it out, and they're going to have a more in-depth communication about it in the future. And then here we've got some gameplay topics. So we've got runout and diffuser. So diffuser retrieval improvements. This was actually brought in with mid-season of season 3, where you could actually pick up the diffuser at range. So it's about a meter of range to pick it up. Apparently something went wrong here and they've had to take that feature out. They haven't explained what it is, and I haven't gone like hunting through the R6 database or anything to try and figure this out, but something was up. So they've taken it out and I assume that it was probably something that could be exploited in some way. So that is gone, and hopefully will return, relatively soon. They are planning to bring it in with Year 5 Season 4, which means either it'll be there with the launch, which I don't think it is because it's not in the patch notes, though it possibly is going to be coming for mid-season for Season 4, which would probably be January. This one's another curious one because I'm wondering how they're going to fix this. So single bullet holes are often used to gain an advantage during gunfights. So like putting a hole in a wall and then shooting someone like down a corridor where they just cannot see you and they have no chance of defending against you. I assume that the simplest and easiest way to do this is make holes have to be a certain size. So basically, if you shoot a wall with a bullet, instead of making this perfect circle hole, maybe it just doesn't make a hole at all unless you hit like 3 or 4 bullets and then make a, maybe a punch size hole or something like that. So that's going to come with Year 6 Season 2. So still a while away, but that will be getting fixed. So that's interesting. Talking to interesting, enemies are too hard to see with certain skins equipped. So this is when camouflage in game actually works as camouflage. The problem here is just how they're going to implement this. So apparently they say they're going to actually make it so that operators will be more visible. And I can't imagine how you do that without making it a significant change in some sort of visual. Like, are all characters going to have some sort of glow to them, or what is? I'm really curious about this one a lot because I'm just like, what is the solution? I would love, and a lot of people have suggested this, just a toggle to switch off all cosmetics, but I assume that would probably make a big impact on sales of cosmetics as well. So maybe that's why they're not going to do it. But yeah, like I say, what can they do to skins? Like, because they're not going to go in and change individual skins for individual maps. They're going to have to come up with a system that makes those operators more visible without changing the skin. And I don't know how that's done, but it's going to happen during Year 6. Can't wait to see what that will actually be. And then something that's changed with Neon Dawn is audio tinnitus. So when you get to low health, you can't hear anything. That has been reduced. So you can still, it's kind of, it definitely dulls the noise, but it is now much more, easy to actually hear something rather than hear nothing at all. So yeah, that's going to be a good change for anyone that was annoyed by that. Now, something that's been pushed back is improved flash detection. So this was kind of on the cards for potentially happening this year, and it's not. It's getting pushed to Year 6 Season 2, and it just basically means that when you throw a flash in, it's much more consistent to actually blind someone. I can imagine this is a pain in the ass to work on because you're probably on a knife edge between making the flashes too good, where like every single time you throw a flash in a room, you flash the enemy and you can just storm in and win. So I imagine it's a pain in the butt to actually balance this, but due to shifting priorities, they are going to push it into Year 6. And like I say, that's Season 2, so probably 6 months away, although every season just flies by right now. Then we have kind of the stuff they've already done and fixed down here. And yeah, basically the older stuff from October when they last updated this. So yeah, that, like I say, this is some good stuff. Like the fact we're getting a stream was awesome. And like I say, it's actually useful for the normal person if it randomizes your name, which it would have to, so that you don't get, so that people just don't look up your name when you join a game. So if that is a feature, and I expect it has to be part of our streamer mode, and anyone can switch it on, then it's going to be freaking brilliant for avoiding DDoSing against you specifically, which is wonderful. So I can actually see these two things becoming an awesome combo, and actually, this solving this, and yeah, we'll have to see if that ends up being the case. But yeah, that is the update to the top issues and community concerns for Rainbow Six Siege. There's a lot of good stuff in there, but of course, as usual, there's a lot of stuff that's been in there before, but they are certainly moving forward with a lot of it. So let me know what you think about this in the comments below, and I'll catch you next time.